Welcome to today's edition of OUCHI GOHAN, Japanese home cooking series in partnership with Table for Two's Washokuiku, the Japan America Societies and Japan Societies in Georgia, Boston, Houston, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Colorado, North Carolina, and the U.S. Jet Alumni Association. My name is Yoshi Domoto, Executive Director of the Japan America Society of Georgia, and as part of our Edamame Champ campaign, we will be learning how to cook two of my favorite Japanese dishes today, Agedashi Tofu and Nasu Dengaku. Without further ado, let me introduce you to our class instructor, as with all of our sessions, Miss Deborah Samuel Sensei. それでは、デボラ先生、よろしくお願いします。
Hey, thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. I'm Deb Samuels. I'm calling in from Boston, Massachusetts. And it feels a little like winter yesterday, but it rained but didn't snow. We're very lucky. It does do that sometimes in May. But anyway, welcome to our class today for our new members. This is our OUCHI GOHAN, which is home-style Japanese cooking. And as Yoshi mentioned, we are collaborating with Japan societies from all over the country to bring this program to people from all over the country. We started this during the pandemic, and it was so successful that we've decided to continue it. So we're very happy to have you here today. The program agenda is I'm going to do a short presentation, that kind of sets the scene for what we're going to be making today. And then we're going to get cooking with everybody. There are a lot of ingredients for you. Does anybody have any questions or anything before we start at all? I will go over the ingredients as we get to the cooking part, and we will get started. And as Yoshi said, this is Edamame Champ Month. Or actually it's a 6-week campaign that my organization runs once a year. And we hope that when you're finished with your soy-based dishes, you will do hashtag Edamame Champ and put your beautiful creations up on social media. Every photo that's uploaded, actually just by being here, your presence means that for each person, a school education program, one of our education programs, will be donated to kids who we work with. Not everybody can pay for our programming, so this is a great way for us to do a yearly campaign to have more people join. So without further ado, this is our May OUCHI GOHAN, and it's our hashtag Edamame Champ program. We're going to be making Agedashi Tofu, which is, I think, probably my favorite Japanese dish. And it's a soy-based dish with a couple of kinds of soy in it, and Nasu Dengaku, or eggplant with a sweet miso sauce. And that's grilled. And sometimes you will also find these in Japanese izakaya. So these are like little pub, maybe izakaya is a pub, and these can be kind of appetizer dishes as well. All right, but we're going to talk about edamame and soy for the first part. So Table for Two is the organization that I work for. We started off in Japan. It's a nonprofit organization, and it was the whole reason for it to come to be was that people were concerned about trying to right the global food imbalance. Some of us have a lot of food and we eat too much, which can cause health issues. And some of us in this world don't have enough food to eat. And so through our multiple programs, we try to work towards balancing that program. TFT, Table for Two, provides school meals. We enhance school meals for kids around the world and here in the United States as well. I'm also part of a program called Washokuiku, Learn, Cook, Eat Japanese, and this is our educational arm of Table for Two. So Edamame Champ 2025, we have lots of different ways to support us and to be part of it. And so you're participating in a program, And this is the way that you'll be supporting it. As I said, it provides school nutrition education for kids that we work with. All right. Yeah. How Edamame Champ works, I just mentioned it. You join an event, which is what you're doing. We're no longer doing the soy photo challenge, but when you're finished, we hope that you will upload your picture to Edamame, #Edamame Champ. So let's talk about soy. Actually, the way this started is I think there was a month, June was soy month in Japan, and we decided that would be a great way to teach healthy eating through soy. And so that is what we do during this campaign. So let's talk about soy, which is a very, very prominent part of Japanese cuisine. So everybody knows edamame, the green pods. They are the immature beans, and that is what we see in the stores everywhere. Thank you, Trader Joe's, for introducing this to Americans. Kids are now snacking on edamame, and I think here it's often pronounced edamame, but we try to teach a little bit about where the soy products come from. So edamame is the immature pod, and daizu are the soybeans that are dried. And then this is what is turned into different products. They are both soy. Edamame is grown on big stalks. You will find these stalks in Japanese supermarkets, and you can pull them off and you cook the fuzzy green bean and you just pop them in your mouth. After they dry, they become daizu. Okay, whoops. Anybody have any idea who the top soybean producers are in the world? Number one.
Want to listen, or should I put my headphones in?
Anybody want to guess?
United States.
United States. You are close.
Like
You
a regional.
What?
You say that's not on.
We have U.S. as an answer in the chat box
Sorry
as
about
well,
that.
but very close. You want to give us a hint?
It is in South America.
Brazil.
Yes, very good. Brazil. Oop, wait a minute, went the wrong direction. Brazil, and number 2, USA, and number 3, Argentina. So we produce a lot of soybeans in the upper Midwest of the United States, way down into some parts of the South, Louisiana, Arkansas as well. However, we export about 60% of our soybeans all around the world. China was one of the largest importers of it, and I've just seen a chart where now with the tariffs, they are way down low in importing our soybeans. But here in the US, we use it for vegetable oil, food for animals. We hadn't really quite gotten to the let's make tofu out of it yet, but these soybeans are promoted and put all over the world. Soy is used in so many different ways. Can anybody just tell me some of the foods that are made with soy?
Tofu and
Tofu. Yep.
miso.
Miso. Okay. Soybean oil, soy milk, soy sauce.
Natto.
Natto, yes.
Absolutely. I've learned to like that. 25 years in Japan, and I couldn't eat it, and somehow or other, I've learned to like it. There's natto. And so these are all products of the soybean. And we actually make soy sauce here in the United States, and also a lot of tofu. Some of the Japanese companies do manufacture those here. Soy is some kind called meat of the field. It's great for vegetarians because it's the protein it's where you find the most protein for vegetarians is in soybeans. And now if anybody has a food allergy, I'm sure we do this when we teach cooking just to make sure that everybody is on board, especially when we have kids around. Today we're going to be making Agedashi Tofu and Nasu Dengaku. Tofu, just wanted to talk to you just very briefly about tofu and miso. It's versatile, affordable. There are so many different textures And that's something that confuses a lot of people, or how do I know what tofu to use for what? Well, it really means it's based on what you're going to be cooking. And the softer it is, the less, the more water it has. The harder, the firmer, the less water it has. But still, you really have to wrap tofu and drain it in order for it to not splatter while you're cooking it, and you will see. Some of the dishes that we make with tofu, hiyayako, soft tofu, this you don't have to cook. Mabo tofu, Agedashi tofu, which is what we'll be having today. And the ones that use the firmer or harder ones are deep fried tofu and tofu burgers. I will just ask you afterwards, I'll stop it when I'll ask you what type you're using today. Miso also, there's so many different kinds of miso. And again, the colors vary from white to red. The darker, the longer the fermentation and the saltier. The lighter, the shorter the fermentation, and the less salty it is. Miso is used in so many different dishes, for soup, for sauces, for all sorts of things, for grilling, and we're going to be using that for grilling today. So, without further ado, I think I will stop here. All right, so what we're going to do now is I'm just going to quickly show you how to make the dashi. Even if you're not making it today, it's really one of the simplest things, one of the simplest stocks I have ever come across. I had mentioned to everybody that you should have a piece of kombu, which is dried kombu here. Yoshi, is everybody here?
Yes, everyone's here. We can see you clearly and looking good.
Okay, so this is the kombu. It is a hard piece of kelp, and you need to reconstitute it to get some of the minerality out of it and to start flavoring the water. And so I have had mine soaking for 30 minutes, and we're now going to turn on the, oops, there we go. So you're going to turn on your burner. If you are not making the dashi from scratch, you can put your dashi that you have either from a packet or a little sachet, and you're going to start to heat it up. All right. So the only two ingredients for this classic dashi is kombu and katsuo. These are katsuo flakes. This is generally the size that you use to make soup. If you don't have that and you only had these small packages, you can do that too. But this is the size hana katsuo flour that is used to make the dashi. And depending on how much you have now in your instructions, I said 1.5 cups of water and one stick of kombu, and I said 1 cup of katsuo. But 1 cup of katsuo is actually for 4 cups of water. So this is going to be using, if you have 1.5 cups, you're going to use 1/2 cup of katsuo. So if you want to open it up now, and you'll see, yeah, usually Japanese recipes say take a handful, but I know that's not great for people who are learning how to do things. So we can take 1/2 cup, okay? You can measure 1/2 cup if you want, or we'll just take a small handful, okay? Like this, right? And I'm just going to set it on the side here, larger thing. And what we're doing now is we're heating up the kombu just until you see little bubbles come up. You do not want to boil the kombu. okay? You do not want to boil it, it becomes bitter. And just as we see the water start to boil, we're going to take up and take out that. So get a little plate ready for yourself. And I will use my favorite cooking tools are saibashi. These are the long chopsticks. And my water is just about coming up to a boil. And what happens after that is we're going to take it out, and then we're going to put the katsuo right into the water, okay? And it will just 2 minutes, and then it's done, and then we will strain it, okay? So just another minute on this, right? Did anybody have any trouble getting theirs? I have 4 cups of liquid in here, so I'm going to use one whole cup. But if you only have 1.5 cups, just use a half a cup of the katsu, okay? All right. So we'll take this out. Dashi is really the base for so many Japanese dishes. If you're vegan or vegetarian, you can just use the kombu, some shiitake, and a little bit of maybe daikon, and that will give it a really nice taste. But kombu by itself would be a little weak, but with shiitake and with daikon, it makes a very nice flavor for a stock if you are a vegetarian. All right.
How much of those would you recommend adding, Deborah Sensei?
One. This is 1. Look how big that got.
Oh, sorry, for the shiitake and daikon.
Oh, for the shiitake and daikon, I would probably put in 4 shiitake and about 2 1/2-inch thick slices of daikon. Okay, you'll have to cook it a little bit longer than you would cook the katsu, and I'm not remembering exactly the amount of time, but the shiitake, you will reconstitute it in the water with the kombu when you let it sit, and it will give off a lot of flavor at that point too. All right,
Great, thanks.
Pardon?
Oh, thank you. Sorry.
Out comes the katsu. Oh, I had it a little bit too high. So lower it down to around medium, like this. Okay, you do not want it boiling. And then there are a couple of different schools of thought on this. Let me just, that. And you just put your katsuo right in like that. And I need another handful. And what you do now is just turn it off. Okay? So some people do this, some people cook it for about 2 minutes, but I just turn it off. And in about 1 minute, I'm going to strain it, and that's it. That's the whole base of your dashi. You can make miso soup with this, and as you see, it's going to be the base for our agedashi tofu. Dashi being the key point here. Okay, so I'm just going to let that sit for another minute.
And Deborah said the difference between home cooked dashi and store bought is much fresher and I guess less chemicals. Is that right, or is there other differences?
It depends now. People do use home dashi. Home dashi is a powdered dashi, very convenient. Japanese people use it and everything, but it's got a lot of salt, sugar, MSG, and I think maybe the 4th ingredient is bonito. Here you're getting a slightly purer product. You are getting a purer product. But now they have lots of these sachets that have really high quality ingredients in them, where you can just put them in and you get a great dashi from it, and it's super convenient. Okay, sometimes I'll make this, use 2 cups of it, and keep the rest in the refrigerator. All right, so now what I have here is I have a strainer, a tight mesh strainer. You don't have to add the paper towel if you don't want to. You can just, well, I won't do it because maybe a lot of people are not doing it. So now this is ready. I just pour it right in through the strainer. And you should be having this really wonderful kind of smoky, fishy flavor smell. A lot of people think dashi as kind of a bacony type of substitute. It has that smoky flavor, and actually katsuo is smoked and fermented, and then it's dried and shaved like this. Okay, so let me just put this off on the side here. And you can see that this dashi now is very clear. The little flakes you see underneath are what I spilled. All right. So what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be getting ready the dashi for the agedashi tofu. So your recipe calls for 1.5 cups of dashi. So just take your pot. Let's put the dashi in there. I'm going to measure mine out now. Ooh, it's super hot. And because I've done 4 cups. All right. That is 1.5 cups. And let's put it back and put it into the pot. I've got 1.5 cups of dashi. All right. I left in a few little pieces here, no problem. And then the seasonings for the soup are 1.5 cups of dashi, 2 tablespoons of mirin. And people who have not taken my classes before, or people who have taken my classes before, they know that when we measure something, I'm not measuring the mirin over the soup pot. Because if I slip, something's going to be too sweet or too salty. So I always take a little dish and measure over to the side. So 2 tablespoons of mirin. Wait a minute. 2 tablespoons of mirin. 1. And 2. Okay, so this should be in your dashi pot now. And then we are putting in 3 tablespoons of soy sauce. Okay, I have already measured my soy sauce here in my handy dandy little thing. Right, I think I measured too much, but I'll take that out. 3 tablespoons of soy sauce.
And are you using regular soy sauce, or is that low sodium, or?
I generally like to use low sodium, but you can use regular soy sauce. Okay, so no problem with that. Your agedashi dashi is done. Okay.
Are we bringing this to a boil?
Pardon? You're gonna heat this up very, very low. But actually, we don't need to do this right now. We're just mixed together because we're just preparing everything first. Okay. So if you've got it all mixed up, just leave it like this. Set your pot aside. All right. And then we're going to go on to preparing the tofu. All right. So, and I'm going to move this off to the side here. Okay. And just give me a second to clean up my workspace, because I am a good cook, but I am a messy cook. And I want to make sure that my surfaces are clean so that everybody can see. So just clean off your workspace, get it ready for our next ingredient, which is going to be the tofu. All right. I don't know if you had a chance ahead of time to drain your tofu, but I just wanted to show you how I did it. I have it wrapped in paper towel with a weight on it for about 15 minutes. And I want to show you how much water comes out of this. Especially when you're frying, it's important for you to get as much liquid out of the tofu as possible so that it doesn't, splatter up at you. So here is, hopefully you can see, can't see very much of the water yet, but you will as we put this out. And I may wrap this one more time. I'm using firm tofu, but you can use medium firm tofu. And if you are an experienced cook, you can even use soft tofu because you get that really wonderful custardy flavor, but that can fall apart pretty easily when you are frying. So here's the water that's coming out of that. Okay, that's a fair amount of water. All right. My paper towel was pretty wet. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to get some more paper towel and I'm just going to pat it dry. And we're going to get ready to cut up the tofu. Okay. A lot of what you do in, well, certainly Asian cooking is preparation. And then you cook. So we're really getting everything now prepared so that we will be able to cook everything when we're ready and not be running around the kitchen looking for things. I'll just show you. This is house tofu. This is a Japanese brand of tofu. It's firm. I think it's made in Wisconsin, New Jersey maybe, but it is here. And this is, I tend to like that. The Korean brands of tofu are absolutely wonderful too. Pulmon, I don't know if it's pulmoné or pulmon, but it's a great tofu as well. And let's just wrap the tofu one more time just to pat it dry. Okay. And what we're going to be doing after this is we're going to be cutting the tofu, right? So I'm just going to show you, set this aside for a minute, and then go over the next ingredient, which is potato starch. In Japanese, it's katakuriko. You can use any potato starch. Did anybody use Bob's Mill? What ones did you find? Anybody use Bob's Mill? Do you recommend? Yoshi, can you read me the chat box? Someone has a couple of questions.
Yeah, we do have one person who said yes to using, I guess, Bob's. And then we do have another question about, do you recommend using a tofu press, I guess for the weight as you drain the tofu, or you just use, looks like another bowl or another dish, but.
If you have a tofu press, by all means use it. That's your best bet. Another way to do it is to put the tofu in the microwave for about a minute and it will draw the water out as well. But we're going to cook this afterwards, so I don't want to loosen it up any further, but you can drain. You also get the water out by putting it in the microwave. Okay.
And some people have both the Asian katakuriko and Bob's Mill. So do you recommend one or the other, or they're not the same, are they?
They are the same. Potato starch is potato starch. I think Donna may even have Strites, which is a kosher brand of potato starch. So that I think is the same. The one thing that's not really recommended is cornstarch or flour, because you get this kind of a crust with this potato starch. Cornstarch will melt away. All right. So we want to try and keep some kind of crust on it. So this is the preferred one. You can do it with cornstarch, but it's not recommended. So I'm just going to take that and put it on a tray. Just get it all set and ready to go, right? Like that, right? We are not going to coat this until the oil is hot and we're ready to fry. All right. I'm just getting it ready now. Okay.
And what was the measurement for the potato starch again, for the katakuriko? Was it just a cup?
Half cup.
A half a cup?
Half cup. Okay. All right. So I've got that ready. I'm going to set this aside. I have to remember where I put it. And then we're going to just unwrap your tofu again. And now we're going to cut it. The smaller you cut it, the more pieces you have and kind of the faster that it'll cook. So I've seen so many different ways to do this. I'm just going to put this down here. And so very often, you know, in Japanese cuisine, you see things that are in odd numbers. So it makes me want to cut it into 9 pieces, all right? So that we could have 3 servings of 3 blocks each. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut it in half this way, okay? So you're going to go down this way. Like that. Actually, we're going to cut it in 8 pieces. All right, and so you've got 2 blocks like this. Don't separate them. Right? If I cut it into 9, we'll be going thirds. But I think for kind of looks and ease, we'll cut it in half this way, down the middle. So we're going to get 8 pieces. All right, and so you'll have a fairly large block. 2.
And I guess also the smaller pieces you cut it into, easier that it will be eating at the very end too, right?
Easier to eat. So you can either cut it in half, so before, or you can cut it like this in thirds. So let's try that. Let's go in thirds. Okay. And that'll be good. Okay. And so now you have, whoops, blocks that should be like this. Okay. And so this is now, oops, I didn't cut it all the way through this way. When I did this recipe before for the pictures, I'd used a medium firm, and for some reason they didn't have medium firm on the shelves this time, so I used firm. So now I'm just going to put them, separate them like this. Okay. And we're just going to get ready to cook. And try not to just keep them separated. All right. And when we're ready, the next thing we're going to do is dredge them in the flour, in the potato starch, and fry them. That's all. The flavor is going to be coming from the sauce and the toppings, which we're going to do next. Right? Go. All right, there we go. Set this aside, and your tofu is ready. All right. And so, you know, tofu is a very bland type of a product, and it tends to absorb the flavors of the things that you put it in or you put on it. And so the classic toppings for this or garnishes, edible garnishes, are daikon, radish. We're going to grate that, and grated ginger, which can be pretty spicy when you eat it grated and raw. So we're going to do that. I happen to have a modern Japanese grater with these very small holes that are designed for this kind of grating. I don't know what kind of graters you have, but you can use microplane. You can use this kind of a small grater. You want the small holes on it like that. All right. So let's grate the daikon first. You want it to be peeled and ready to go. All right. We're going to grate the daikon and then we are going to drain it. Okay. So again, getting everything ready so that when we're ready to we cook it, we just put it together very easily. So now we're just grating this up. Right. If you can see into this very, very fine puree or mush. All right. Again, a lot of water in the daikon. And you can also, the other type of tofu dish that I really like is hiyayako, which is a cold tofu. And also it's just tofu, grated ginger, and katsuo flakes. And it's really, really wonderful. And it really brings out this flavor. In that case, you would be using soft or silken tofu. But here, I don't think that gets daikon. Does it, Yoshi? Do you know off the top of your head?
Oh, the hiyayako?
No, the hiyayako, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's daikon oroshi on it, and you can put different types of toppings over it. But yeah, I've seen it with and without. But you can actually buy daikon oroshi pre-made too, right? But again, I guess with the same as the dashi, this is much fresher, and you know exactly what's going into it, right?
I've never seen the pre-made. You can do that? I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
In some stores, yeah, they have the pre-made packages. I'm sure with MSG in it.
Ah, yeah. All right. So my daikon is now, I'm not going any further. I'm going to scrape my knuckles there. And now we're going to, got this here. And what I'm going to do, oops, what? Is I'm going to pick this up, squeeze out the water, all right? So I would say in 2 handfuls. So you're going to pick it up like this, and I'm going to squeeze the water out. You can see it, whoops, I'm here. I'm trying to do it so you'll be able to see what I'm doing here. And I'm just squeezing it. And the water is coming out. And it's really, again, these waters have a lot of vegetables. Raw daikon is spicy. Cooked daikon is like a different vegetable. It's sweet. So now you're going to take your daikon and just put it in a little dish. Just hold it on the side. And let's do that with the rest of it. Okay. And squeeze out again. Is everybody with me? All right. Now, you can save the daikon juice. If you have a cold or a cough or anything like that, you put in a little bit of honey and heat it up, and it's supposed to cure everything. Okay, mottainai. Don't be wasteful. Yoshi, had you heard that at all?
I have not. I guess I'll have to try that next time I catch a cold. Wow.
Actually, it's with a black daikon or a black radish.
I've heard of ginger, but not the daikon oroshi water. Yeah.
Daikon. All right. So look at that. It's about 1/4 cup. That is exactly 1/4 cup of liquid. Okay. And so now I have my daikon radish ready to go, and you can see how dry it is, and it'll just be this really wonderful addition of flavor, right? And the next thing we're going to do is the ginger. And in this case, let me wipe up my spot here. All right. Once we finish this and we chop up the scallions, we will be ready to cook. But we're going to prepare the nasu next. And then what we're going to do is, this is my fresh piece of ginger, and I'm just going to scrape off the skin with the side of a spoon. And that pretty much keeps as much of the flesh as you can on that. If you were making ginger juice, you would not have to peel the ginger. But because we're going to be actually eating the ginger, it's not going to look very good if you have this, and those bits will be hard to eat. Okay. If anybody has a Japanese oroshigane, which is a grater, I'm sure very easy to use. But again, in this case, I'm going to use my microplane and show you how I do with that. Just going to get a little plate, put it over. Hopefully this will do that. And then I'm just going to, let's see if I can lower this a little bit. Sorry. Okay. And grate my ginger. And it really depends on how much you like. And if you don't like ginger, you certainly don't have to use it. But here it is. You want it to be finely grated. All right. So just going to grate this up. I'm just going to be using like a half a teaspoon on each one. This is like perfume. If you use too much, it stinks. So in this case, if you use too much, it is so spicy. So here you go. And that's kind of how you want your ginger to be. Is everybody who is cooking with me? I'll make sure I'm not going too fast. Okay. And this is good. In this case, you do not need to drain the ginger juice because that's where the flavor is. So these are our two toppings. And then we're just going to chop up scallion. Let's chop up both scallions now because we're going to use scallions for this and scallions for the Nasu Dengaku. So now these are ready. I'm just going to set these aside. Right? Wipe up my spot. Right. And we will then get ready to cut the scallions, right? Or green onions. And this, remember to save. Okay. Let's see. I'm looking for my scallions, but if you have yours, please take them out, lay them on here. Mine couldn't have gone too far away, but whoops. All right, got hiding under the katsuo. So my scallions are washed. We're going to take off the tips, and if you'd like to be also another motai trick or something fun to do with kids is to, well, you cut off a little bit more, but put some toothpicks in here, put this in the water, and you can grow a scallion in about a week. It's a lot of fun to watch. All right, so I like to cut them in half, and I like to use the whole scallion. I think the dark green is beautiful and the white has more flavor, and so then I just put the four pieces together. Get my heavier duty knife, and then we'll just chop them up. Okay. We're going to be heating our oil. It's about 2.5 cups of oil. Is anybody going to be using an air fryer? Yoshi, do you see any comments about that?
I have an air fryer I was planning to use.
Okay, I'm going to show you how to do it with that. All right. Deep frying is the preferred method because it cooks the tofu all at one time. But if you want to shallow fry it, you can. do turn it over as you do it. And the air fryer, you cook two sides. One for about 3 to 4 minutes, and then you turn it over and cook it for 2 minutes. So I'll show you when we're ready for that. All right, so these are our scallions ready for garnishing both the tofu dish and the nasu dengaku. All right, moving along, everybody. We have to prepare for nasu. All right, I'm going to set this aside where I can hopefully find it. And we will now go on. So I have for this, people who are making this, do you have these are Chinese eggplants. The Japanese eggplants are half this size. But they are also kind of narrow, and that's what you use to make this. We're going to do this in 2 pieces. We're going to cut it in half and do it in 2 pieces because it's so long. But does anybody have plain, regular?
Yeah, I guess American eggplants are twice that size, right? So
There's your American eggplant. Whoops, this is a little, I don't know why that went out. Okay, so if you're making an American eggplant, my recommendation would be to cut it in, but it does turn brown very quickly. So you can cut it and put it in water. But I just want to show you, if you are going to make it with the round, is anybody using the round one? No? Okay. Well, I'm just going to show you cut. I didn't cut it very evenly, but you're going to do the same thing that we do to this, which is hatch marks all across. So you're going to take the tip of your knife and you're going to go down about 1/4 of an inch and making straight marks going down and then across this way. Okay, this is going to help to cook things very quickly. All right, you're going to do the same thing to the other side. Look at that brown already. And
also gets the miso in there too, right? So maybe for the flavor.
there as well. All right, so for our eggplant, we're going to get these ready. Before we cut these, because we do want to cook them fairly soon, we're going to make the dengaku sauce. What I'd like you to do is, you're also already going to hate me because you've got a million dishes, but I'm trying to diminish the amount of dishes that you have to clean later. So we're going to mix the sauce right here in a small pot. You do have to heat the dengaku sauce. And I am using a shiro miso, all right, sake, sake here, and we have, and mirin here, okay, and sake, mirin, and sugar. So one of the things with this is it's a sweet sauce, and when you're cooking it and when you're grilling it, you have to pay attention because there's sugar in it and it burns rather quickly. So when we're heating it up, we need to pay attention. All right, so for this case, I've already measured 2 tablespoons, it is 1 tablespoon of mirin, which is this, okay. 3 tablespoons of miso, and the type of miso I'm using is just a plain, simple shiro miso, okay. This is on the more mild sauce, so I'm going to put this in here, 3 tablespoons, all right. And we have 1 tablespoon of mirin. Oh, I already put that in, right? 1 tablespoon of sugar and 2 tablespoons of sake, all right? And again, I'm not measuring over here. I measuring here. And part of the reason for cooking this is to help to cook off the sake. So 1 tablespoon. Oh, wait, wrong way. Sorry. 1 tablespoon. And another tablespoon. And sometimes people will put in a tablespoon of dashi, but I'm going to put in a tablespoon of water. So let's put in a tablespoon of water. Like that. And just mix it up. All right. And we're going to put it on the heat, on a low heat. All right. Pull this back a little bit. Okay. And again,
Deborah, since I know you're making using the cooking sake, what would happen if you use like the unfiltered nigori sake or some other type of sake?
absolutely fine. Even more delicious. So no problem. Any kind of sake. This is daikon, so it's also drinkable. It's not the best, but it is drinkable. But so you can use a cooking sake. You know, if you don't have sake, people have asked what you can substitute for sake. Wine just tastes different. You know, I don't know that it would be the same thing. When you're making Chinese food, if you don't have Chinese rice wine, you can substitute sherry. But in Japanese cooking sake, I don't know. Do you have any recommendations? Yoshi, do you ever not have sake around?
I kind of cheat and just use mirin, but I don't know if that's a good substitute or not.
So mirin is a very, very low alcohol. Is very low alcohol. Whoops, I put this up too high, medium low. Okay. And we're just cooking this up, just heating it for 2 minutes. Okay. And that's that. Just want to make sure that everything is melted and cooked. Okay. I'm pretty sure that this is heat resistant, but I don't want to take a chance. So I'm just gonna, this burner is a little hard for me to regulate, so. You want it on medium low. And then this is your basic dengaku sauce. This is fantastic. Also on top of vegetables, on top of salmon. And there's also not just nasu dengaku, is tofu dengaku as well, which is grilled tofu with you grill the tofu with this dengaku sauce. And that's basically it. And I would recommend you to taste it now, just so you have an idea what it tastes like. Let me make sure. Delicious. Delicious. Okay. It's strong now, but we're just brushing it on top of the eggplant. Okay. All right, your dengaku sauce is done. And set that aside. Okay. For those that are cooking with me, everybody at this point. Right?
Deborah Sensei, how much water, or you mentioned dashi, went into this sauce?
1 tablespoon.
Tablespoon. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Setting that aside. And I now have my frying pan here. This is going to be to fry up the eggplant. And you should also have ready a cookie sheet or something that is covered in foil. Okay, so there are 2 steps to cooking this. We're going to fry the eggplant first, just for 2 minutes on each side. We're going to put it on here, and then we're going to brush the dengaku sauce on and grill it. Okay, I mean broil it. I'm going to put it under the broiler. Does everybody have a broil function? Stove with a broil function? Okay, we're gonna cook this through because dengaku can be eaten at room temperature, okay? And the agedashi tofu should be cooked and eaten pretty quickly. So we're going to cook this together all the way through, and then we're gonna cook the tofu. All right, but let's prepare the eggplant now. Okay, so I've got a frying pan, a wide frying pan. If you have a non-stick, it's preferable. We probably won't cook all of the eggplant together at one time now because it would take way too long. So I'm going to plan to cook the amount of eggplant that can get in my frying pan, which would probably be 2 eggplants. All right, but let's get ready and cut them up. Okay, wipe my surface again. Oops. The other thing you should do, which I try to do, is put the caps back on everything. I can't tell you how many times I've spilled things all over the floor because I was in a hurry and forgot to put the cap back on. So try to do that. All right, let's prepare the eggplant. And we're going to take off the top. And we're going to take off the bottom. Well, we could leave the bottom on. We could leave the bottom on. And we're going to cut it in half. Okay. If anybody has a Japanese eggplant, which is about this size, you don't have to cut it. But if you have these, lovely Chinese eggplants, you should cut it in half. All right. So now what we're going to do is cut this in half, north to south, again like that. Okay. And you've got this beautiful white interior. It's very soft and easy to eat and cooks up pretty well. And again, we're going to do the same thing with the tip of your knife. You're going to go down about 1/4 inch down like this and hatch mark across. These are called hatch marks, making big X's. That, and your eggplant would be like this. And as I said, this helps it to cook quicker. And as Yoshi said, it helps to get the miso sauce inside. We're going to do the same thing to the back. Not everybody does that, but we want this to cook pretty evenly. So, and it's very beautiful. This purple comes up very beautiful like that. Okay. So let's do that to the rest, just the tip. And again, for the back, it's a little harder. You can't go in with a tip. You probably have to start in the center of your knife like that. Get down a bit. And put about 2 tablespoons of oil in your pan and heat it up on medium. Okay, a nice medium heat. Medium low for right now because we're doing something else. Okay, let's set these aside and do the same thing with the other one. Don't worry if you have a little brown here, it's not a problem. And I think everybody knows that the eggplant skin is edible. Right? Yes. Okay, and next one.
Deborah says, is eggplant considered a summer vegetable in the US? I know in Japan it's kind of more of a summery kind of a vegetable, and I see Nasu Dengaku a lot in kind of summer seasonal menus, but
Question. I don't know. Oh, I'm not sure about that. We see everything all times of the year, but I think the smaller ones, the Italian eggplants and everything, you get to see them in more in the summer and the spring. Okay, so I've got 2 done here. That's 1, and now I'm going to do 1 more. Okay, and then oops, I cut the bottom off by mistake. All right, and north to south. Hatch, hatch, hatch. Now, some people salt them, pat them dry. It's not really necessary in this case to do that. We're going to be a little short of time, so it's not going to produce that much liquid. This one doesn't. Okay. All right.
And Deborah was gonna say, this is a couple minutes ago, but how much oil was in your
About
frying pan?
about 2 tablespoons and a non-stick pot.
2 tablespoons of just regular vegetable oil in a nonstick pot.
Oil or vegetable oil, yes. You want something that doesn't have a lot of flavor, or any flavor, actually. So olive oil is not really appropriate for Asian cooking. Although I will say a lot of my Korean friends, for health reasons, do use olive oil. I was surprised.
But no sesame oil. That's pretty flavorful, right? So
Yes, sesame oil when you're making some things like gyoza, you add sesame oil to the pan for that. Sometimes people will do that. All right, so now we are about ready to fry. I'm gonna drive up the heat a little bit. Okay, and again, this is all about like preparation and having things at hand so that it's easy. You've got your foil pan already. Okay. And here we go. All right. Just testing the heat here to see how it goes. Does anybody have any other questions or comments? What kind of egg was everybody able to find Chinese or Japanese eggplant you're using? Okay. So there are a lot of different ways to test this. I learned also that if you put your chopstick in and you see the bubbles around it, can you see it bubbling up? Your oil is ready. All right. So let's see if that's true. And I'm going to put this in flesh side down. Okay. It's ready. Go. Put these in. I shouldn't have put not good to teach kids to put your hands in the oil. So my frying pan is going to hold about 2 eggplants. And I'm hearing it crackling. I'm going to lower it just a little bit. I don't want to overcook these. While this is cooking, I'm going to turn on my broiler to get it hot. Okay? So, give me a second. So your eggplant should be flat down like this. Eggplant absorbs a lot of oil. So for the rest of it, you may have to add a little bit more oil, but we should be okay with that. All right. Coming down thing, I'm going to turn on my broiler. All right, broil. Okay. So we're getting that preheated. And I've got my foil pan here at the side. Okay. And we're cooking 2 minutes on each side because basically what we're going to be doing with the sauce is really just grilling and browning the top of it. So you're going to have your sauce ready. Okay. My sauce is ready. I'm going to put that down on the side here. And I have a brush. Okay, so my sauce is all ready. Okay. And so we're going to cook this until it's mostly done. Right. You can see how, even though the heat is not on this, the hatch marks are opening up. So it, again, serves a couple of different purposes. It looks good, and it also helps to cook the items quickly. All right, so let's turn it over. Oh yeah, excellent. Okay. And we'll turn this over. Looking good. This. And just keep turning them over. See if I can get a little closer so you can see. Going over and over and over. I probably could have used another minute or so on that side because we do want it to be kind of soft when we're cooking. All right. So, not to have you do multitask, but it would be a good idea now to put your oil in the pot for the dengaku, for the, I'm sorry, for the agedashi tofu. So I have 2 cups of oil, 1.5 cups of oil in a pan. Okay, this is a tempura pot, but of course you can use any kind of deep pot. You don't want it to be wide. You want it to kind of be so that the tofu is cozy with each other. All right, but you can see it goes about halfway up. And I'm going to start to heat this on medium low, just to start getting it because it takes a while for this to heat up. All right, so I'm just going to put it on medium low. Okay. All right. And this is good, but I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to test it to see if it's soft. Oh yeah, nice and soft. This one is not as soft as I would like it to be. You can look at the other side. I'm going to turn this one back over. You'll also get to see what looks on the other side. Right? And this one, I think if you see a lot of white, yeah, this needs to go over one more time. Okay, but look how beautiful that is. I'm going to give them all one more shot on the other side. You don't want them to fall apart. You don't want that. Okay. Whoops. And then you're going to just pierce the back here to make sure. Wow, they are beautiful color. All right. And yeah, okay, perfect. Mine are done. I'm going to turn off the heat. All right. There's not that much oil. I don't have to worry about them, swimming in oil on my pan, and I don't need to drain them or anything. So I'm now just going to put them right over here on the foil. Okay, and you're going to put them facing up, flesh side up. Go back a little bit here. Okay, everybody with me? And now we're just going to brush on the sauce. Okay, I'm going to remove my pan here. Okay, and now let's just take our sauce and brush it on. I guess you could prepare this ahead of time up to this point and then cook them. Because it's a lot to do all at once, but you can't cook them and leave them on the side because they'll just get way too soggy. Okay, so nice brush of the dengaku. It's a nice glaze. Okay. And you want to have a plate ready as well to put them on.
And you're just coating the sauce on just that one side, right?
It's one side, just the top. Like that. Okay. Is everybody with me? Does everybody have that done? So the rest of your eggplant, if you haven't had a chance to cook it, don't worry about that. If you could cook it after the class is over, so that we'll be able to get through everything in a reasonable amount of time. All right, your eggplant is ready to grill. Or broil, put under the broiler. Has everybody got their broiler on and ready? The broiler should be about a third of the way down, from not way up here like this and not all the way to the bottom, but you want it about a third of the way. And depending on how hot your oven gets, I can't leave my oven door open because the broiler turns off. So I have to keep my broiler closed, the door closed. So I'm going to put it in now for about 45, 50 seconds and take a look at it. Because there's so much sugar in here with the mirin and the sugar, and there's some alcohol, it can burn quickly. So let's put it in the broiler. And we'll give it about 1 second. Oops. My broiler on. Yes. Broiler's on. Okay. So, there we go. So my oven is over there. And I'm just going to be waiting for the broil to come in. My rack is a little lower than I wanted it, but anyway, what we're going to do now while that's broiling, set up your tofu station. Let's get our tofu and the katakuriko all set up because that's our next activity. And once that gets cooking, it moves very quickly. So what I would do is you put your tofu to the right, well, wherever your stove is. And so I'm going to have my cooking oil right here. And we're going to be going from the tofu to the katakuriko right into the frying pan, right into the boiling oil. Okay. So I'm going to take my oil off of that and put it right on here. And while I'm going in this direction, I'm going to take a look at my dengaku. Oh yeah, it's going. Okay. The lower your rack, the easier it is to control. But it takes a little bit longer. Mine's a little longer because I don't want any problems. All right. Oil is now heating up over here. Okay. Got that going. And it's getting nice and warm. It's on a medium. You want to cook this at a slightly lower temperature than you would, like deep fried chicken or something. Cut this off. Okay. And well, now that I said that, I'm going to put the eggplant back here. So I'm just going to move this to the other side. And okay. And you should get your plate ready for your eggplant. Something that you're going to put your eggplant in. They can be set aside or they can be put, all together in a long plate. Right, let's check our eggplant again. Looking good, starting to bubble. If your eggplant is ready, take it out. I'm just going to recalculate my root here. Right. And I'm going to have a hot pad because I'm going to put my my tray over here. Okay. And almost ready.
And the eggplant is ready when it starts bubbling or a little after it starts bubbling?
When it starts bubbling.
Okay, you don't want to burn it like you said, right? So when it starts bubbling, it's ready to come out.
This is the plate that I'm going to put them on. Right. And okay, mine are ready. Off. So here you can see they're nice and glazed. Maybe I could leave them in for another minute, but I just want to make sure. No, I can do another minute on them, but they're okay for me to take off. You can see some of them are really nice and browned. I'm gonna give it another minute, another 30 seconds, just for a little bit more. Okay. And my oil is heating up here. And let's see if that method of putting your chopstick in works. Oh yeah, it's bubbling. So that oil is hot and ready to go. All right, out comes the eggplant. And okay, we're ready. And as I said, this dish can be served room temperature. So it's fine for us to take it now and just leave it until we're ready to eat. If you want to sneak a taste when it's really hot, that's good. But let's get it over here. And I'm just going to take, whoops.
And if you keep it on the tray, it's going to continue cooking, I guess. Is that right?
Yeah, it'll stay warm. This tray is not that hot because it's been it hasn't been in the oven that long, but it's good to take it off now. Actually, that's an interesting point, Yoshi. But here we go. And so.
Well, I know when we've done cupcakes and muffins, you want to take it out immediately, right? So.
Oh, okay. So as you know, things like to go in interesting formations here. So I'm going to do that. And we're also going to sprinkle a little bit of sesame seeds on. Right. Here we go. And I've got 2 extra, but it'll ruin the design on my plate. But I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to turn these over. All right. Oh yeah, that looks nice.
So Deborah, since we have a couple questions in the chat box, going back to the frying for the Agedashi tofu, the chopsticks bubble in the oil. Does that method work with metal chopsticks, or you just want to use that with wooden chopsticks?
Chopsticks, wooden chopsticks.
Just wooden, okay.
Wooden metal chopsticks. That's interesting. That very often they're cooking. Those are deep frying ones too. But I've never done it with that. That's an awfully good question.
Yeah.
Really good question. So in this case, we're just going to sprinkle on a little bit of sesame seeds.
An interesting comment too. You can actually make tofu, right? Nasu Dengaku, but you can also do tofu Dengaku, and likewise Agedashi tofu, but also Agedashi Nasu, right? Agedashi eggplant. So you can kind of flip that tofu and the nasu and the eggplant.
Yep. Okay. And then just a few green onions on the top of this, and I'll do that in a minute because my oil is super hot now, and we're ready to go. So if everybody is ready for the next step, all right, I'm going to pull back a little bit, and I'm going to take my tofu here. You can see that. And all right, everybody, you're only going to put in half the tofu, just half the tofu, okay? I have little strainer. These were actually, I think that's actually designed for tofu, to take these out, but be very careful. We're going to take it now and you're going to dredge all of your tofu, 4 pieces at one time. I think maybe we can get 5 in mine. Okay, but you don't want to put them all in because what will happen is that they will dramatically lower the temperature of the oil and that affects the cooking. As soon as you have coated it, you just dip it right into the oil. Okay? See that? So coat, dip, and put it right into the oil. All right. Should probably not do that with my fingers. I'm going to lower it in with this. Okay. And I can see why medium firm is a little bit better than firm, but I know this is not going to fall apart. Okay. And again here. And if you have somebody in the kitchen to help you, you can start to heat up. Well, let's wait to heat up the dashi, all right? So you can see why these are called cooking chopsticks, because they keep your fingers up and out of the oil. So you can move this around a little bit. But as you, this is a little too high. So you know, this is a little bit. This is a little hard for me to regulate on this cassette stove. If you have, you should get ready a rack, a wire rack, because we're going to put the tofu on top of here. I just have it on top of a little pan. Okay. Better than paper towel because it'll still absorb the oil. So if you can put it on something like this, that would be best. Okay. All right. How's everybody doing? All right, I'm just.
How long should we expect it to fry for?
Pardon?
How long should we expect the tofu to fry for before it's ready?
About 3 minutes.
Okay.
3 minutes on each side. 2 minutes and 2 minutes. About like that.
Okay, so we should flip it over after 2 minutes?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to show you now with the air fryer.
And because it's potato starch and it's katakuriko, it's not going to turn color too much, right? As if you were doing it with regular flour or cornstarch.
It should stay.
Yeah.
So if you've got an air fryer, what I'm going to do is I have this spray oil, and I'm just going to spray a little bit on the bottom here. And then I'm going to put in the tofu that I've coated. This. And I'll put it in like that. You can put in more. And then I'll just give it a quick little spritz again. And at 400, you want to cook it at 400 for about 2 or 3 minutes. Open it up, turn it over. Okay? So I'm hearing a lot of bubbling. That will mean I have a little bit too much liquid in here. Trying to turn this down. But so this doesn't turn totally brown, but if you can see, it's got a nice coat on it. All right, and a little bit brown. Yeah, it needs a little bit more time. I'm going to turn this over. All right. And turn the other one over again. Okay. We've got 2 to 3 minutes over here. So the amount of bubbling that I'm hearing is telling me that I might have had a little bit too much liquid in it and I could have drained it further. Okay, it's not just that the oil is too hot. That's one of the things that I'm hearing, okay? And what I'm gonna do now, just about ready, wipe my hands off. Okay, make sure your hands are dry when you're going near it, if you've wet them, because you don't want any water spilling over there. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm just going to take this out and put it right up on here, and that way the oil is going to drain. Okay. A little bit better. Nice little brown color. Everything is now nice and crusty. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna cook these four together. And then when the class is done, I'm gonna have you do the rest of them. All right. So that I don't keep you here too long. And I'm gonna, turn off my oil now. And just let these drain for a little, just a bit. Right. And okay. Take the oil from here. And let's take the dashi now, and we just heat this up on medium low for about 2 minutes, just till we see the steam coming up here. Okay? All right. Is everybody with me? Does anybody have any questions? I'm going to try and clean up a little bit so when we plate this, it looks good. All right. So now this is heating up. This is your dashi, 1.5 cups of dashi. Your, let's see, 2 tablespoons of mirin and 3 tablespoons of soy sauce. You may want to taste it to see if you want a little bit more of one or the other, but it should be pretty good. Right.
Deborah Sensei, we have a comment in the chat box saying that the medium tofu apparently works pretty well in the air fryer because it stays in one place during the frying.
Excellent, excellent. I am very glad to hear that. Excellent. All right, so now we're going to start getting all of our ingredients together for that. And you can see what a nice little crust you have on these. And we're going to get our condiments, line them up. Okay. And the ginger. Okay. Is there any other condiment that you know of, Yoshi, that you would use for this?
I think you have an ingredients, but the shaved nori, right? The seaweed.
Yeah. You can use nori, just not the ao nori, but the regular nori that you can just cut into strips. You can use that as well. Okay. So what I'm using here is kind of a shallow bowl. You don't want it to be too deep. You just, Japanese bowls are designed for their for certain dishes. And so this is a nice shallow bowl. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting in the tofu. We're going to be garnishing it, and then the soup is going to go around the side. Okay, so let me get everything ready here. That's why you want everything going, have at hand while you're, so that you're ready to get it off. Now I'm beginning to see the steam rise from this, which is perfect. All right. And I'm going to get a ladle. Okay. And we are almost there. Right. So let's plate it. Usually they're in sets of 3. All right, so I'm gonna put 1, 2, and then a third one on top. I'm just showing you the traditional way. You can do anything you want, all right? But I'm just showing you the traditional way. Another dish that I was considering using was this. It's a little wider. It's got a nice design on the edge. As you can see, these Japanese dishes and plating Japanese food, it's important. We don't like stuff it all the way up and cover the whole bowl. The point of a Japanese aesthetic is to be able to just fill the bowl a certain amount so that you're able to see the beautiful patterns that are in the plates, okay? And there was no pattern in this one, so I decided to use this one, okay? All right. And so what I'm gonna do now is I'm turning off the heat. You can do this in one of 2 ways, but I think what we'll do is we'll start with the grated daikon, okay? Eventually this is gonna get, it's gonna fall into the soup, which is just fine. You're gonna be eating it with a spoon. You can't eat it with a spoon. And then we're gonna be taking some of the ginger, okay? You can see that. You're gonna kind of like pinch it, okay? And put that on top here. All right. And then we're gonna take our soup and put it around the side. This is 1.5 cups. I had you make more than is usually called for in a recipe because sometimes you just want more, all right? And you're gonna carefully right around the edge, okay? You see how it's pooled? I think people know it's very important in Japan. The Japanese presentation, Meide taberu, you eat with your eyes. It's as important as things look as they taste, all right? And we've got a few of our scallions here, green onions, all right? I don't think you get more simpler than that, okay, as a meal. And again, this is something you can also do with fresh tofu. And in that case, you would use silken tofu, and it's really quite delicious. So we have that. And now we'll take our eggplant. Okay. And let's see, these 2 dishes here. And we want some green onions on here as well. Okay. But I will get a D if I don't wipe up this plate. That is not good. Wipe up your plate so there's nothing on the other side. All right. And you have your 2 dishes done. Dengaku miso and Dengaku Nasu and Agedashi Tofu. All right. So I'm going to turn off my share and ask to see everybody's. Excellent. Wow.
I haven't topped my
Beautiful.
tofu at all.
Well done, everybody. So see that again. Hold on a sec. All right. Beautiful. All right.
I did some reading, and apparently Agedashi Tofu first appeared in a Japanese cookbook called Tofu Hyakuchin, published in 1782. So the dishes you all made are over 240 years old. So great job, everyone.
Wow. So Yoshi, if you could put me on like big view or something, I just want to make sure everybody knows you can eat this with a spoon. I had my nice Japanese wooden spoon here to show you, but you can eat this with a spoon. And as we all know, before we eat in Japan, we say, itadakimasu.
Itadakimasu.
Okay. So please also, before you eat, take a photo And do hashtag edamame-champ for us on your social media if you would. That would be great. Who did the air fryer? Is that done yet? Let's see yours, Donna. Oh, excellent. Yeah, it did. It worked. It worked. Beautiful. All right. And the nasu looking good. A bowl of rice and you've got a meal. So thank you very much, everybody. Yoshi, you want to tell everybody about the survey in the next class? Please.
Yes, of course, our Ochi Gohan classes are perfect as is, but we're always trying to make improvements. So it will be wonderful if you all can share your feedback and ways to make our events even better. And our next Ochi Gohan will be May 16th, which is a Friday, and it'll be held and hosted by the Japan American Society of Philadelphia. So it's going to be a Friday evening, of course, again with Deborah Samuel Sensei, and we will be making sando, right? Japanese sandwiches. Is that right, Deborah Sensei?
We're going to be making 4 kinds of sando, and there's sort of the Japanese style kombini sando. So there'll be an egg salad. There'll be a katsu, a pork katsu sando, and one other savory one. I haven't decided about that yet. And then for dessert, in honor of Memorial Day coming up, this would be great for your picnic. We're going to be making a fruit sando with strawberry, blueberry, and whipped cream. So that'll be our Memorial Day picnic sandos. Great. So everyone, thank you very much for cooking along with us. Hope you'll come back. And thank you so much for your efforts. Otsukare-sama deshita, which means thank you for your exhaustion. So anyway.
こちらこそ。
Hi.
Well, let's give Deborah Sensei a virtual round of applause. Thank you so much for hosting it again. We always enjoy cooking along with you, and we look forward to seeing you next month, May 16th.
Okay. Bye, everybody. Thank you.